welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and the two hell kittens, actual cats, not people, Minerva and Astoria. And welcome to my channel where we talk about what I am knitting and what I am spinning and what I am potentially sewing and potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are so many voices on the internet clamoring for your attention, and you saw this and decided to click on it, and that makes you a rad human. If you are a returning viewer, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. We're gonna put it all out there. I sound terrible. I have been laid low, like low, real low, by a sinus infection from hell that has required me to be on antibiotics and robbed me of my voice. At one point, Joshua said that I sounded like a prepubescent boy. This is as good as it gets. My energy levels are finally getting back to normal. I don't have terrible brain fog, so we are recording. If this is your first time here, I don't normally sound like this, but y'all, I have stuff to share. I have stuff to share, so we're gonna do it. Thing number two, I have been thinking for a very long time about how I was going to remember to thank people who contributed to my Ko-Fi. And I was watching Tony Lipsy at TL. Y'all, if y'all don't watch Tony at TL Yarn Crafts, this is just, guys, get ready. This is going to be great. Get ready. If y'all don't watch Tony Lipsy at TL Yarn Crafts, get your life. She's amazing. But I was like, that's a very good idea. So we are going to thank someone every video for chipping into the Ko-Fi and for donating. And that's going to be the way that I remember to do that. So hold the phone. Let me go get my phone. So this week's Starlight friend, what are we going to do this? What are we going to call this? This week's friend who poured me a cup of Starlight, that's it. This week's friend who poured me a cup of Starlight is Heidi. And Heidi says, Tashi, I am loving your video so much. I may need to try spinning again. Spun up a skein over a decade ago. Was disheartened and went back to knitting. Thank you. Well, Heidi, if you're watching this, number one, thank you so much. And two, I hope you pick up spinning again and give it a go. Everyone sucks in the beginning and everyone gets frustrated. I mean, at one point I was going to break my wheel and throw it out the window. It happens. But I hope you give it a go. And if you don't, I'm so glad that you enjoy the wool chaos. Thank you so much. So let's move on to finished objects. So I don't know if I need to say it. I don't know if we need to talk about the elephant in the room, but my finished object is my Heritage Harbor pullover, which I am clearly wearing. I had hoped to get this video out last week before release day, but you know, the sinus infection, the damsel in distress, and it was very real, you guys. It was too real. So the Heritage Harbor pullover by Samantha Guerin, my dear friend Sam, is out in the world. If you decide you want to make it, which you guys, I feel like you need to make it. It is bomb. I feel super cute in this. I'm sweating, you guys. I'm sweating. I can't wear wool indoors, but I feel super cute in it. If you've watched the show before, you've seen me working on this, but if this is your first time here, this is the Heritage Harbor pullover. I knit mine out of North Bay Fibers, Heritage DK, which is what Sam wrote it in. I will put pictures here as soon as I figure out how to do that in Premiere Pro. But I will put pictures here. I am wearing it very comfy, cozy, casual today, so I'm wearing it with like some trousers and not as nice as I did in the pictures, but we'll do some like close-ups. So I knit my sweater according to pattern. I made 0 mods. That's how amazing this pattern is. I didn't have to do anything to it besides knit it. I knit it with the brain fog. I knit it using a US 6 needle, which is the needle that Sam wrote the pattern for. I hit gauge with the US 6. That almost never happens. I almost always have to size up, but I think Sam is as tight a knitter as I am. Because every time I knit her patterns, I don't have to size up on needles. But I did knit it with the recommended yarn at the recommended gauge. I even did the tubular bind offs, which you guys, you know how I feel about those things. Those things are low-key terrifying. I did the folded collar, which you guys, this is my first time doing like a folded neck, and I think I might do this on everything. It's like super squishy and cozy. It's giving me like full-on drop shoulder sweatshirt vibes, and I love it. So that's I don't know what else to say about it besides I love it. I love it. It's super soft. This yarn is a dream. If you've never felt it, it's a Tazhi polypay. Y'all, I can't say enough about breed-specific yarns. If you can get your hands on a breed-specific yarn, do it, experience it. It's delightful. This is Tazhi polypay, so if you know anything about wool, it has that Tazhi squish. It's dreamy, it's pillowy soft, it's woolen spun. It was a delight to work with. I can't say enough good things about this yarn. I can't say enough good things about this pattern. I'm literally going to live in this for as long as New York City lets me. I have 5 inches of positive ease. I knit the size 6. You guys need helpful information. All of this stuff is on my Ravelry page, which if you can't access Ravelry, I will try to put details in the description box about the sweater. But I knit a size 6, which would have given me a 50-inch finished sweater. I have a 45-inch bust, so that gives me about 5 inches of positive ease. And I'm really happy with that. I mean, 5 inches of positive ease is what I tend to go for on my sweaters anyway. I never knit anything smaller than like a 49, unless it's designed to have like no positive ease, which chances are I'm not knitting it because I like my things to be oversized and silly. But I love the sleeve on this. Like literally no mods. It just fits great. Everything about this is great. Sam did an amazing job designing this pattern. All of the test knit photos I saw, I was just like, ooh, like I'm almost tempted to make another one because I saw a bunch of people do delightful things with their yarn, but I'm very happy that I did my multicolored striping situation. It worked out. It's giving me like H&M Beach Girl vibes. I'm not mad at it. So this is my Heritage Harbor pullover, again, by Samantha Guerin, which the pattern is available now. I will put it in the description box in case you decide you want to make it. Thing 2 for finished objects is yarn. So y'all, I am just as easily spinfluenced as everyone else is. People are like, Tazhi, you did this to me. Tazhi, you did this to me. Y'all, I'm not resistant. I am not immune. I am not like inoculated against the spinfluencing. If there is a spinfluencing vaccine, like sign your girl up because I am not resistant to it. I am just as susceptible to the spinfluencing as everyone else is. So Lisa at Soulful Spinning, which I feel like if you guys have watched any of my videos, you know all about my love affair with Lisa. Lisa, I love you. I absolutely adore you. Lisa at Soulful Spinning was doing some cool like hackle experiments in her last video. And I was like, yo, I have a hackle. I could do that. So I decided to blend some top. I've never done that with my hackle. I will tell you, I did not buy my hackle for blending. I bought my hackle to help me process wool faster because I don't like doing the dizzing motion off of combs. So I comb on my comb and then I transfer it to my hackle and then I can do bigger loads. I hope those words made sense. So I don't use my hackle for actually blending, but Lisa did some blending and I was just like, ooh, I want to do that. I want to get in on that. So I went and I ransacked my stash at like in a fugue state. Like I think it was like day 5 of me being sick and I had just had it. I had it up to here with being sick and I was like, something's got to give. Nothing gave. I was sick for like 5 more days after that. It was not a good time. So I pulled out some BFL C-Cell that's dialed by Emily Gillis or Giles. Or Gillies. No one has told me how to say this yet, by the way. I need to just DM Emily and ask her how she says her last name because no one has told me how I'm supposed to say that. I pulled out some dyed Polworth from Nest Fiber. I had some yak silk top. I pulled out some regular silk, some sari silk, and I was like, yo, we're going to make some nests. And I will put a picture here again as soon as I figure out how to add pictures in Premiere Pro. There will be a picture. So I had the nest of top, and then Lisa was like, I saved all my short bits and carted it into a bat, and I was like, Lisa, you're speaking my language, you guy. And so I saved all my short bits. And there's a lot of stories involved in this yarn. Melissa, once upon a time, sent me a 4-ounce blob of this sheep named Skipper, and he was a Merino Romney ram. That's a fun thing to say. A Merino Romney ram lamb. And I washed it and I ended up with like 60 grams of it washed and I had no idea what to do with it because it was like 60 grams. It's like not enough to do anything. So I just put it aside and it was just waiting. And then I was like, y'all, what if I blended Skipper with the like guts of this stuff? And so I pulled out my carder and I blended Skipper with the guts of this stuff and I made an intentionally very textured bat. Like I could have ran it through a few more times and gotten it smooth, but I was like, wouldn't it be fun to spin something with a lot of texture? So I left it very clumpy and very textured. And I spun my comb top nest and I only had 50 grams. And I was just like, well, if I spin 50 grams of like an undyed single, then I would get 100 grams of yarn. And so I did all of this. And while I was thinking about this, Andrea Mowry released the DRK Everyday Cowl. And I was just like, yo, the universe is telling me that I need to make some complementary skeins for that cowl. Which if you've seen the cowl, it's a garter slip stitch situation with the cowl. And one of the samples she knit was striped. And I was like, yeah, I love a striped situation. I mean, that's why I cast on the Metamorphic, which is still in timeout. Don't at me. It's still in timeout. And so I ended up spinning for it. So here are the skeins. I have not washed this, so this is probably going to get way chunkier. This is the fun thing about woolen versus worsted yarns. This is the same yardage of yarn and the same mass of yarn, and look at how fat this gray skein is. It's because it's a worsted prep, a woolen prep and a woolen draft, so it has all this air in it. It's just, now I will say these were worsted preps, but I did spin them long draw because, again, I was like doing the thing and not paying any attention and throwing all the spinning rules out the window. So this is a worsted prep with a woolen draft, which is why when we were talking about woolen versus worsted, I said it's important to talk about your prep and your draft, because you can spin a worsted prep long draw, which is a woolen draft. So I spun both singles of this with a woolen draft, even though it was a worsted prep. It was combed Polworth. It was undyed Polworth that I had sitting around. So I did 50 grams of undyed Polworth and then 50 grams of my fun blended top. And then this is 110 grams of the bat stuff. So I'm going to stop talking about the yarn and show it to you, because that's what you're here for, right? You're here. You want that hot goss. You want that squish. I'll show it to you. Comb top to me felt like springtime. It had green and pink and orange and yellow, and it felt like springtime. And then having it spun with that white single just muted the colors down even more. And so it looks like a pale pastel dream. And then the skipper with the textured stuff, it's a really fun pairing. So here you go. So you can see them together. I think it's a really fun pairing. I think it's going to make a really interesting striped cowl just because there's so much texture in the gray yarn and there's none of that texture in the white yarn. But we'll see what happens when I wash it. It is sitting about sport weight right now, but I think it'll bloom a bit in the washing. Like, there's no reason for it to not bloom a bit in the washing, so I should get close to DK. I don't even know what weight this is. This is irregular. It is chaotic and irregular and fun, and it has so much squish. Skipper is a delight. Melissa gave me the laugh of it. The laugh of it. Melissa. Guys. Melissa gave me the last of it, is what I was trying to say. The word salad. It's good today. It's real juicy, real tasty. Melissa gave me the last of this, so Skipper is done unless there's another shearing. But she did share a bit of fleece from another sheep that I think is really similar, which I'm really going to be excited to spin because it's delicious. So that's my finished objects for the week. I think I've rambled on enough about my sweater and my yarn. Let's talk about whips. So the first whip we're going to talk about is one you've seen already, because I had every intention. So I finished my Heritage Harbor sweater last Saturday. And today is Sunday, March 26th, the year of our Lord 2023, unless you're watching this in the year 2300 and the cat overlords have allowed you a little bit of screen time, which if they have, thank you, my Lord Puss in Boots. I really appreciate you letting your denizens spend this hour with me. But it is March 26th. I finished this sweater last Saturday, so I had about a week and I had every intention of picking up my laneway pullover immediately. And the brain fog was not a good time for knitting. So I did not do any knitting over the last week, except last night. I did a lot of spinning, a little bit of spinning. I spun those two skeins and I spun them on my e-spinner, which was easy because I didn't even have the energy to treadle. Like, you guys, I was like laid low that like treadling at my wheel was exhausting and I was winded. So I propped my e-spinner up in bed and spun while I was just being miserable about the general state of the universe. So last night, I was able to pick up my laneway pullover, which, if you remember, just needs sleeves and a hem, and I picked it up and I started a sleeve. Now, at one point, when I was being really lazy, I'm just going to be honest, I was being really lazy, and I was like, I'm going to put short sleeves on this. And then I was just like, I don't know how a short sleeve sweater feels for me. If it was fingering weight, I would put short sleeves on it, but it's DK weight, and it seems silly to have how do I say this? It's not that it seems silly to have a DK weight sweater. It's just I would get more wear out of something knit at this gauge. If it was like a looser gauge, maybe, but something that's knit at this gauge that's going to be this heavy and this warm, it would make no sense for me to put short sleeves on it. So I committed, I'm doing the long sleeves, and then I decided I'm just going to do the full colorwork long sleeves. So I was just like, why not? Now I don't know if I'm going to go full length sleeves. I might go bracelet length. So we'll see. We'll see, but I did pick up the sleeves, and here is what one sleeve looks like. This sweater, you guys, y'all, this sweater brings me the most joy. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, ugh, why are you so pretty? Why are you such a stunner? Why are you such a showstopper? How dare you be this magnificent? I love this. I love this so much. This is the laneway pullover that I'm testing for Sarah Opie, which I don't know if I said that yet. If this is your first time here, I am knitting this out of Barocco Ultra Alpaca in the color Eider Down for the main color, and the contrast color is hand spun because why not? So the contrast color is hand spun. It is a combo spin on BFL of Hushed Stillness and Overcast. Did you see the panic in my eyes when I couldn't remember the things that I'd been practicing for days? It is a combo spin of Hushed Stillness and Overcast on BFL by Three Waters Farm that I spun for a different project, and then it just happened to work deliciously in this. So here is where we are. I have about 9 inches of sleeve. Also, I think it's wild. I picked this up and I knit this for like 4 hours and got 9 inches of sleeve. That's how you know that this is like peak potato chip knitting. I just don't want to put it down. It's so delicious. So I got about 9 inches of sleeve. My plan is to knit 12 inches of sleeve and then try it on because it's only 1 inch of ribbing. So if I get 12 inches of sleeve that's right about here, I'm going to do ribbing, and I'm going to do the tubular bind off, you guys. I'm going to do it. Because I'm hoping that this will, I mean, it's alpaca in the wool, so it might stretch a little bit. So I'm accounting for the stretch, which I'm hoping that, you know, obviously this 1x1 colorwork does need a solid blocking, so it can smooth out a little bit. I'm really excited about this. I did the longer yoke on it because I kind of want that like Swancho vibe. So I did knit the body a little bit shorter. I kind of want like a cropped Swancho. That was the aesthetic that I was looking for. But also, I shared this with a few people. I don't try on my knits while I'm working on it. I just hope for the best, which is a really reckless way of doing things, to like spend 85 hours knitting something and then bind it off and then try it on for the first time. But we live life on the edge. YOLO. I might actually try this on. I might not, because I don't have the barber cord situation, and I also don't know if I want to put a second set of needles. We're babbling. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm working on it, and here it is, and it's beautiful, and it's magnificent. So again, laneway pullover, which should be coming at the end of April, which is like perfect time to knit like a fun DK weight sweater while it's still cool enough to wear it. I mean, unless you live in like the southern, no, actually in the southern hemisphere, it'd be great for you because you're approaching winter. So this would be even better. But like if you're living in the northern hemisphere, especially in the northeast, it's still pretty chilly. So it's going to be perfect timing for this. And I know Sarah's designing one in fingering weight, which will be even better. But y'all, fingering weight sweaters, not my jam. So here we go. My other whip is something new. And as I picked it up, I realized that this is the worst time to show it to you because I'm in the middle of a row. And not only am I in the middle of a row, I can't fix it because I don't have any more yarn, and I don't have any more yarn caked. So y'all are just gonna have to forgive me today. I'm not my best. I'm not my best. And I probably should have caked up another skein of yarn and not been in the middle of the row so I could show this to you properly, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So let's tell a story. So I was sitting on Instagram, scrolling on Instagram like you do. And this is probably the third time that Amy Christophers, who is Savory Knitting, I know it was savory, but like literally what was about to come out my mouth was savory. And I was like, that's the wrong word. I know it's Savory Knitting. So Amy Christophers at Savory Knitting, this is like the second time that she's dropped a pattern that has just been like, whoo, stop everything. I think the first time it was the Pressed Flowers cardigan, which I'm still working on. We don't talk about it. Still working on it. But she dropped this cardigan, and it's called the Mandolin cardigan. And it's a bulky, like Aran weight lace cardigan, and I kept staring at it, and I was like, y'all, do you know what this would be a perfect match for? Marge. I still have my Marge spin that I'm not doing anything with, so I abandoned all of my other whips and immediately cast this on, and then I got sick, so I haven't worked on it, and I'm in the middle of a row, so we're gonna have to forgive me. While also I like, look at this tail. Who does this to themselves? This is like 3 inches of tail. This is outrageous. So anyways, this is my first time knitting lace. So it's kind of ambitious to pick an all over lace cardigan for my first time knitting lace, but it's actually really intuitive lace. The hardest part is there are knit 4 together stitches that are the knit 4 together is for the birds. I can do an SSSSK. Is that 4 S's? Who knows? But I can do that easily because that, you slip, you go through the back loop, whatever. This knit 4 together situation is not fun and my wrist does not like it, but you don't do it very often. And the rest of it is like really easy to remember. I'm actually not even looking at the pattern all that much, which is a wild choice to make. But I did mark out, let me show you the knitting. Yeah, I'm talking too much. Let me show you where I am. So we're in the middle of a row. Just forgive me. But here's where we are. So that's what the lace looks like. Now, obviously, you have to imagine that it's like blocked because it's going to look much nicer when it's blocked. But y'all, look at how good Marge looks in this lace. Now, if you're new here, I keep saying Marge. Large Marge is a sheep that is cared for at Nice Stock Farms by Robin at Nice Stock in upstate New York. And she is a CVM Border Leicester Rambouillet Cotswold cross. And she was one of my first sheep to skein projects, and I loved her. I got a half fleece. I spun the whole thing up. I ended up with about 1,350 yards of like DK 3-ply DK weight yarn, which is not the yarn that this is written for the record. This is written for Aran weight. So mine is going to be at like a looser gauge than that all the samples are. All the samples are at this really swishy yarn, but I really wanted like a drapier lace cardigan, which is why I'm committing to doing it with Marge. Now I did knit 250 yards of this and I got pretty far, but then the brain fog set in, and knitting lace with brain fog was not a good time. I don't even know if I'm on the right side or the wrong side now that I'm looking at this. So I'm gonna have to I did take notes as I was knitting and I crossed out the lace rows. But this is a love letter to Large Marge. And I really want to get it done for Maryland Sheep and Wool because Robin will be there. And I think it'll be really fun to wear my cardigan that I made with wool from Robin's flock to meet Robin for the first time. I'm a huge fan of Robin. If you don't know, I have 3 Nice Stock fleeces here. 1 that I've already spun up, 2 that I haven't, 1 spun up, 1's washed, 1's not even washed. I love Nice Stock. I love her crosses. I will go back over and over. So I think it'll be really fun to wear a garment made from wool from her flock. So I have till May 6th to knit this. We will see. I was making really good progress. I knit all this in a day. This is a day's worth of knitting. So I was making really good progress and then I got sick. And now the issue is I don't want to fall behind on my test knits to prioritize this. So we'll have to see how this goes. Once I bind off my test knits, I think I'll be in a better place to work on this like full steam ahead. But it is what it is. I've been home for some time, so it would have been great knitting if I just could have focused, but I couldn't. You guys have been sick. You know what it's like. You can't focus. But this is a love letter to Large Marge. I am so excited about this. It is the squishiest fabric. I mean, just knitting with something that you've hand processed wool is just special. And then when you hand process and you spin and then you get to knit with it, it's a really magical place to be in. And I'm really excited about this. So we will see how far I get. I started knitting this with Jelena Sue is her Instagram name, and she is like flying ahead of me, but she like knits super fast. Like every time I'm like, hey, let's cast this thing on, like tomorrow she's done. And I'm just like, how do you do this? How do you knit so fast? She's like about ready to split for sleeves, and I am still here, which is okay. It's not a race, but she's definitely keeping me motivated because every time I see hers, I'm like, I need to pick mine back up. So I think actually after we're done recording, I might skein up. This is what happens when you don't have your yarn skeined, because if I had my yarn skeined, I would have like kept working on it. But the idea of having to get out of bed and go to my winder and set it all up, because I don't leave it set up all the time, and then wind the skeins of yarn is why I haven't done it. So I'm going to go wind maybe 2 or 3 more skeins of Marge's yarn and get back to work on this. Because I think I really could get it done. It's really quick. It's on 10s. 9s or 10s? It's on 9s. So it's like really fast knitting. And the lace is really intuitive. And it's like a 13 stitch repeat. So it's not hard to remember. If you're on the fence about knitting the mandolin cardigan, I highly recommend it. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll link it in the description box so you can see it, because it's beautiful. I mean, everything Amy makes is beautiful. But the lace on this, I was just like, y'all, I might be ready to knit lace. So here's my love letter to Large Marge, also known as the Mandolin Cardigan by Amy Christophers. I mean, I know this lace does not look like much because it's not blocked, but it's it's, oh, there you go. That's what, haha, you can see it. So that's the pattern, and it repeats over and over, and it's just going to be like a big warm hug, which hopefully it won't be too warm to wear it in May to sheep and wool. But if it does, I'll get a heat stroke and, you know, someone call 911. My other whip I did not bring. It's my coffee run collar. Oh, announcements. Casey and I have decided to extend the Collar Me Happy Cal to April 1st because we both got, you know, not bogged down. We both had test knit priorities. And so neither of us have finished our coffee run collar. So we've decided to extend the deadline till April 1st, which is in like 6 days from today. It's 6 days from today. So if you're still working, you still have 6 days to enter your thing for your neck into the cal. I have finished the back, but I didn't bring it with me because it's in the bed, and it's really, honestly, I'm hoping to show it to you when it's finished. So I will hopefully, the next time we record, have my coffee run collar done. I saw Casey's. It's just beautiful. And again, if you do want to enter the cal, it's Collar Me Happy Cal. That's the hashtag on Instagram. And Casey does have a Ravelry page where you can enter your stuff if you don't use Instagram. And I will link her Ravelry page in the description box. Okay, so let's do acquisitions. I'm going to show you something really fun. So my wool mentor and my wool broker, Melissa at Melly Knits, has, you know, a bat making shop where she sells wool that she's processed herself, and she gets all this fun like Canadian stuff. And I'm a huge fan of Melissa, so I was talking to her and she was telling me about all this fun stuff she has. So I did buy some wool from her, and I've wanted to spin this. This is my commitment to content creation. And I was actually telling this to her, and I had a really good laugh at it. I was like, "Am I a content creator now? I've had this for 2 weeks, and I've wanted to spin it, but I didn't want to spin it until I showed it to you in its intact form. But you better believe the second we show, like, I'm done, and after I finish editing, I'm getting back in bed, and we are tearing into this." So this is a Cotswold cross lamb. It's Cotswold with a cross with Gotland, BFL, and Merino, cared for at Rose Ranch in British Columbia. And I did get 8 ounces. Well, I got 200 grams, which is not technically 8 ounces, but I'm not, in America, we use the imperial system. So 100 grams is not super close to 4 ounces, but it's pretty close. I got 8 ounces is what we're going to say. Look at, oh, y'all, look at that. Get in there. It is super squishy, super soft. It has all of that. I mean, listen, I know long wools are not for everybody, but your girl loves a long wool. I love spinning long wools. I think now that I know how to do them and not make rope, I think they're delightful and they're squishy, and I want them. I want to keep them forever. So I did get 8 ounces of this lamb. And then the other thing, remember I was telling you about how special Skipper was, and Melissa was like, well, I have something that might be similar enough to Skipper. This sheep, her name is Ambrosia, and I've been watching Melissa spin Ambrosia and just getting really, really jealous. And then I messaged her, she had exactly 100 grams left, and so I feel like the universe held on to her for me. This is Ambrosia. Just look at that color. I mean, you can tell. Look at that squish. I love it. I don't know. Ambrosia is Dorset, Suffolk, Charolais, and Romney. So she's definitely bringing me that Dorset, Suffolk like squish. If you've ever handled the downs, you know what like a down breed feels like. I love the color of this. I can't wait to spin it up. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to spin it up and it's going to be delightful. I might spin a 3-ply. I might spin like a super fine 3-ply fingering. I don't know what I would do with it, but it's just, I want to get in it. You guys, you have no idea how hard it's been to resist this. Every day I pick it up and I squish it and I sniff it and it smells like sheep because obviously Melissa knows what she's doing. She's my wool mentor for a reason. If you've never shopped Melly Knits, if you've never shopped Melly Knits, who sells bats, she just came back from Fibers West, and she still has a little bit of stock left. So if you're watching this today, go like check her shop out and get you some like fun hand processed Canadian wool. Like everything she makes is absolutely delightful. I've never ever been unhappy with anything I've bought from her or anything she's gifted to me. So yeah, go shop Melly Knits, get you some fun hand processed squish. In other acquisitions, I did get a few more fidget sticks. this week. There are two that I really want to show. So here are the two that I'm going to show you. These two I bought on DStash, and I bought it using the Ko-Fi money that you guys have so kindly shared with me. So here are the two that I got on DStash. This is from, let's see if I remember how to do this. No, stop. This is from Texas Jeans, and this is considered a Russian. So I do have other Texas Jeans spindles. I love this like tulip hand carved situation. It's a little bit shorter than my full length Texas Jeans, but this is a Russian. It's a little bit lighter than the Tibetan bead one that I have. I will go rescue the one that fell. And this other one is like a very old, I don't think I've seen a design like this. This is by Woodland Handcrafts, and I was a sucker for that bloodwood tip and the like little leaf detailing on this. So this is also a Russian. Is it a Russian or a wand? I think it's called a wand, but because I bought it on DStash, I think the seller called it a wand. So I did get this on DStash through the Ravelry Spindle Candy group. And thank you so much for facilitating that, because I wouldn't have been able to do that without you guys. I will show you the others that I have. These two, oh no, these three. These three are for Woodland Handcrafts. I am now searching for a white whale spindle, and the white whale spindle that I'm searching for is a Bog Oak Ninja by Spanish Peacock. So if any of you have a Bog Oak Ninja by Spanish Peacock, I'm in the market. And if you see a Bog Oak Ninja by Spanish Peacock and you buy it before me, I will never forgive you. I was actually talking to Melody about this, about how like Melody and I are like, you know, evangelizing for support spindles. And now we've realized that we are now competing against everybody that we talk to for support spindles, which is just like, it's like, is that what you consider a catch-22? It feels like a catch-22. So now, if any of you see that Bog Oak Ninja, it's mine, please, and thank you. But the white whale spindle is a Bog Oak Ninja because I did get a Bog Oak cauldron from Woodland Handcrafts. If you don't know what Bog Oak is, just go look it up, because I won't be able to explain it in any way that makes sense. But I do have a Bog Oak cauldron, and it needs a Bog Oak Ninja as a pairing. So my spindle, if you see it, and if you see someone destashing one, tell me. Just tell me. I did get two more spindles from Woodland Handcrafts, and these are maple burls. Just look at that little bird friend. I got a bird friend and a mushroom. I love a maple burl. I love the like color and the texture in these. I cannot resist these. So that's the two that I got. And then I have two more from TJ. I say TJ like we're friends, like Joshua and I are friends, and he's given me permission to call them TJ. I have two more from Texas Jeans. This is a carved flower Russian. I think it's 20. Nope, it's not a Russian. It is a Tibetan. It's 28 grams. It's like pink. I think it's called pink ebony. I don't remember what the wood is that this whorl is carved from, but the spin time on this is bananas. It is unacceptable, the spin time on this. I have a chalice. I could just show you. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. Look at that go. Look at that baby go. Just the spin time on this is bananas. And then I did get another maple burl Tibetan, because again, the maple burl, I can't. So here's my maple burl Tibetan, which also the spin time on this one was extraordinary. I mean, for something called a Tibetan, this spins really, really fast and really, really long. So the maple burl Tibetan, her sister. Her sister is going to Melody at Pacific Coaster Fibers, and my carved flower, her sister, went to Natalie at, oh Lord, I can't ever remember how to say Natalie's last name. But we shopped the update at the same time, and so my sister spindles are out in the wild with people that I know and I care about deeply. So I really like having sister spindles with other people. So if you see an update, and I shop the update, and you also shop the update, now we have sister spindles, and that's a cool thing. And the last acquisition I will show you is I finally got a copy of Neons and Neutrals. I have been lusting after this since I saw the fashion show at VKL. I did go get this at my local yarn shop, which is Brooklyn General. There's a few things I want to make in here. There's this. Look at that. I mean, yes, that is 100% happening. But I think what I'm going to make first is the Brienne cardigan. I do have yarn for it. Here we go. There's Brienne. So I do have yarn for it. I have Gilliat, and I have a skein of Corey Worsted in the Floral Morganite color. So that's probably going to be what I make next. I'm really interested in getting some like cardies in my life. So that's probably going to be what I do. But here's Neons and Neutrals, which is available. It is Amy of La Bien-Aimé's newest collection. I was not really enthused about worsted, so I didn't buy worsted, but this one got me right in the feels. I love that it's designed with a bunch of different yarns. The collaborations in this are amazing, and I'm I'm really enthused, and I'm really excited to get my brand cardigan on the needles when I get needles empty, which might be, in fact, never. But fun book. Okay, so for Ask Tazhi this week, I thought we would talk about e-spinners. I know there are a lot of new people to the Spinsterhood, which welcome my whole heart for each and every one of you. I hope you find the most joy here. And I know a lot of people have been snatching up e-spinners left and right, particularly the electric eel wheel nano. I'm not editing any of this, you guys. This is just, it is what it is, the word salad. Particularly the electric eel wheel nano, because it is definitely a more affordable introduction into spinning. And so I know a lot of people have been snatching up e-spinners left and right. Also, they're smaller, so if you don't have the space for a treadle wheel, you can just stick it on your shelf. I understand the appeal, you guys. I bought into it just as much. So I thought we would talk about e-spinners. And a few weeks ago, I asked for questions about, well, specifically the electric eel wheel 6, which is what I use, but e-spinners in general, so we could talk about them. So I thought for Ask Tazhi, we would spend like 10 or so minutes talking about e-spinners, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Now, I don't have all the answers, so I'm not going to try to answer questions I don't have answers to, because that would be silly. But we'll talk about mine, we'll talk about my thoughts, and I'll try to answer some questions. I am a huge fan of e-spinners for a lot of reasons. One, cost effectiveness. The electric e-wheel series are just, they're amazing, and they're cost effective hands down. Two, accessibility. Like every now and then my knees hurt, my hips hurt. I can't sit and treadle for hours, and I love that the e-spinners in general do not require treadling. So if you have knee issues or hip issues, or you can't sit straight up in like the position that treadling at a traditional wheel requires, an e-spinner is it's a much more physically accessible option to a treadle wheel. I'm all about them. Also, they're just fast. I can spin something so much faster on an e-spinner, because on my treadle wheel, I am limited by how fast my treadle wheel can go and how fast I can treadle on my feet. So I'm limited to my highest ratio, which on my wheel right now is 18:1, and also how fast I want to go with my feet, which I'm not racing. And with my e-spinner, I'm limited by how fast I can draft. So if I can crank that baby up and draft and keep up with it, I can get through a 4-ounce braid super fast. I mean, I spun that 4-ounce bat and plied it in 2 days, which I probably could do on my treadle wheel. It would just take a lot more time than it took me to do it on my e-spinner. So it is a zoom. And also it's super portable. I literally throw my e-spinner in bed all the time, which I don't know how my husband feels about. Honestly, I should ask him. But I just haul it into bed with me all the time. I keep it on a little tray. I drag the tray into bed. I keep my spinner and all my tools on the tray. The tray goes in bed with me. When I'm done, the tray goes on the chair and I'm finished, and that's cleanup. I love how portable it is. Also, if you want to spin on the go, I keep seeing people spin in the car, and I'm super jealous. I'm not going anywhere these days. But I keep seeing people spin in the car. So highly recommend e-spinners. Now, they're not all the same cost. There are the Daedalus series, which are a little bit more expensive. And then there's the Hansen, which is a little bit more expensive than that. There's Ashford, which is more expensive than that. And then there's the Firefly by Spinolution, which is even more expensive than that. And depending on the size of your bobbins and the accessories, it can definitely get up there. They're not all $300 introduction machines like the Dreaming Robot series are, but I definitely think it's worth investing in. I think it's worth pursuing. So I thought I would answer a few questions. So I have my trusty dusty sidekick right here, which is my phone, which has all the questions, and we would answer a few of them. So this is a question from Kirsty, which I found really interesting. And the question is, do you find it as relaxing as your other spinners? I'm definitely thinking of getting one, as it's much more affordable, but I still want it to have that relaxing feel. Now, that is a personal relative situation. When I sit at my treadle wheel, I am 100% fully bodily invested in the thing that I'm doing, because I need my hands and my feet. But I will say that when I spin at my e-spinner, it is very easy for me to zone out, because I don't have to focus as much, because it's not, what they say about patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. That's what spinning at a treadle wheel is. It's patting your head and rubbing your belly. You got to worry about your hands and your feet. And sometimes it's quick hands, slow feet, or it's fast hands, quick feet, or whatever. And with your e-spinner, it's just your hand. So I will say I definitely zone out more when I spin on my e-spinner than I do when I spin on my treadle wheels. I don't know if that's what you would consider relaxing. I will say it is much easier for me to practice techniques on my e-spinner because I don't have to worry so much about making sure that my treadling stays in line with what I'm doing. So I find that more relaxing because it gives me a little bit more freedom to experiment and try new things that I don't really feel comfortable doing on my wheel yet because I have to manage so many things. I find it just as relaxing and just as therapeutic and just as like real as spinning on a treadle wheel is. So I hope that answers your question. I love mine. I highly recommend it. Someone else asked, Ajita asked, would an e-spinner handle all the things you would do on a traditional wheel, like fractal and chain plying? Yes, you can do everything on an e-spinner that you can do on a treadle wheel. The only thing that's different is you're not treadling, but it does the same thing. It builds twists and it loads fiber onto your bobbin. So literally everything you can do on on a treadle wheel, you can do on an e-spinner. The only thing you might be limited to is like the size of your orifice. So like if you're trying to spin art yarn, and you have a small orifice, you might run into trouble. The other thing is sometimes e-spinners are really sensitive in terms of take-up, so you might have to experiment a little bit to figure out the right take-up for like an art yarn. But for spinning like a fractal 3-ply or chain plying or any of those things, I ply exclusively on my e-spinner because it's so much faster than plying on a treadle wheel. I turn that speed all the way up and I just feed yarn right onto the bobbin and I ply almost exclusively on my e-spinner. It's literally always out because I'm always making yarn and it's just my favorite way to ply. So speaking of plying, someone asked a question about, Tay LMA said she picked up a Daedalus Starling and a D-Stash. Wow, that's really lucky. Congratulations. And she only uses it for plying. So her question is, would you use your e-spinner for plying or spinning singles? I do both. Especially for spinning lace weight, I find because I naturally draft pretty quickly. Like when I learned to spin on my support spindles, I had to force myself to draft slower because I draft really quickly. So when I spin lace weight, I crank my spinner up to like high speed, and then I can spin really, really fine singles really quickly. I can also spin thicker singles quickly. I mean, I can spin anything quickly on my e-spinner. I would 100% recommend trying to spin singles on your e-spinner, or just using it for plying if that's what you enjoy. But yes, you can spin singles on your e-spinner, and you can spin very fine singles on your e-spinner. In fact, I'm going to go get a bobbin so you can see how fine you can spin on an e-spinner. This is a bobbin from my cable ply sock spin that is still singles because, again, I've been too sick to think about this. And this spin requires a lot of concentration to spin it this fine and this consistently. But these are singles that I spun on my e-spinner. They are about 60 wraps per inch. They're super fine lace weight singles of Tazhi that I am spinning for my cable ply sock yarn. And I spun these on my e-spinner. You can literally do whatever you put your mind to as long as you're willing to practice and to work at it. So Nicola has a question, and her question is, would you choose an e-spinner or drop spindles for someone with limited crafting space? And the question, here's these questions about what I would choose for people. And this is going to be like a blanket statement I make like forever and ever. I can't choose things for people. There are a number of things that go into the choices that you make. One, like whether you can afford it. A drop spindle is going to be cheaper than a nano. You can get a good drop spindle for like $30, and the nano is like $100 plus. I think it's like $110 if you buy it new. If you get it used, you can get it for a little less, but the nano is going to be like $100. That's a big difference for someone who's just starting out and doesn't even know if they enjoy spinning. I would say, all things being equal, if you could afford both, I would recommend a nano over a drop spindle, just in terms of use of learning. Now, some people say it's easier to learn to draft on a spindle. I learned to draft on a wheel. So my perspective is skewed. I am now learning how to spin on a spindle after spinning on wheels for over 2 years. I think, all things being equal, I would buy the nano because I think you'll be able to generate yarn faster than you would be able to on a drop spindle. And I find that the more spinning you do, the faster you learn. Now, this is my point of view, which is not, it's not gospel. Let's not take this as a be all end all. But I find that the more I do something, the more I learn. And I find that with a spinner, you are able to generate yarn faster. So you can like evaluate what you're making faster. Now, this is all things being equal. There's definitely something to be said for the slowing down and the practicing of drafting. So I don't know if it's like a, Like it's like a rock and a hard, it's not a rock and a hard place. It's like if somebody gave you an apple and an orange and it's like pick. I don't know what I would pick for you. I would say get the nano, but also like drop spindles are cool too. So that doesn't answer your question at all. It all depends on what your circumstances are and what you're hoping to get out of this. Now, if you've never spun anything before and you don't know, I would say get the spindle, because it's like, it's a smaller investment and you know really quickly like, this might not be for me. But if you have spun a little bit already and you're interested in learning and practicing more, then I would definitely say invest in a spinner so that your spinning can, but there are people who've been spinning on, guys, I'm just the word salad and the vomit, because people have been spinning exclusively on spindles. There are people that I follow that only spin on spindles. I don't know. That's it. I don't know. Here's another question, and it's very similar to that one. It's by Rochelle, and it's, are spinners good for spinning wheels for a beginner? If not, what are some spinning skills a beginner should be decently comfortable with before investing in a spinner? And so this is a very similar question. They're good for beginners, yes, but also like they are investments. So if you're getting like an EEW 6, which is what I have, I think that's like $300. So that's not like, dip your toe in and hope for the best situation. I would hope that if you're doing that, you know that you're committed and you want to learn to spin and you want to learn to make yarn. I've seen lots of people jumping in and I'm just like, oh, I hope this works for them. But the other thing is these things get rehomed really quickly. So if you don't like it, you can always rehome it. I would say if you're like trying to decide if you want to purchase a spinner, maybe start with a spindle. Just if you have no spinning experience at all, don't be like me and drop $1,000 on a wheel. That's a wild choice to make. If you have no experience at all and you have, the better thing to do would be make friends with people who spin so you can practice on their things. But that's not always accessible for everyone. But if you have no experience at all, I would get some fiber in your hand. Get like a cheap spindle. You can get them that are really affordable, and just practice the mechanism of drafting first and see if you enjoy the slow craft. If you enjoy the slow craft, then I say, jump all in. But I definitely think they're beginner wheels. I think they're easy to learn on because you don't have to worry about treadling. So since you don't have to worry about, patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time, it is easy to the art of drafting. If you really want to learn how to spin, I say do it. I'm reckless and I'm impulsive. I'm never going to talk you guys out of making reckless and impulsive decisions. If you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know, spinning is for me, this is a big investment, then maybe get a spindle first and just practice. But if you're full steam ahead, then yes, do it. I think they're excellent machines to learn on. I think they're really well made. And you can do a lot of things with them. And some people don't ever go to a treadle wheel. Some people just spin on spinners. Like, it's not like, the e-spinners, like the gateway drug to a treadle wheel. It is a fully fleshed out machine all by itself and can do just about everything a treadle wheel. I mean, I think it can do everything a treadle wheel can. So it's not like it's like a stepping stone or a gateway drug. Get it if you really want to learn to spin. I think they're excellent machines, and I definitely think they're accessible for beginners. The other questions I got were like more specific questions in terms of like spinning in general, like how much ply twist you need, how to figure out your take up, and all of that stuff. It just comes down to experimentation. How much ply twist you need depends on what you're spinning, how fast you're spinning it, and how much twist you put in your singles. So all those things come down to experimentation and trial and error. So much of spinning comes down to trial and error and to practice. And so those are not questions that I can answer for you. You gotta just figure that out by yourself. So we all make rope in the beginning. We all make things that are like barely twisted and we don't know how they hold together, or we make things that are so terribly over twisted that it's like coiling and kinking on itself. It's just practice. It's trial and error. It's the same thing like with your take up. You got to figure out that sweet spot so that it loads onto the bobbin, but it's not yanking it out of your hand. And it's just fine. All of it is fine adjustments to your spinning speed, fine adjustments to your take up. That's all it takes. But I highly recommend looking at an e-spinner if you're interested in learning how to spin, and a treadle wheel might be too much for you. Too much in terms of space, too much in terms of cost. The Dreaming Robots EEW 6 and the Dreaming Robots Nano are both excellent wheels for learning how to spin on, or for just spinning on in general. I mean, I love mine and I use mine all the time. So, in terms of the things that sparked joy this week, I've really been enjoying reading a lot. Because I've been sick and I haven't had energy to do anything, I've just been laying around listening to audiobooks, and I've been really, really enjoying it. I'm currently reading The Bear and the Nightingale, and it's like medieval Russia Like, it's set in medieval Russia. It's a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of magic. It's delightful. I just started it. I'm only like 2 hours in, so like I don't know much about what's happening, but everything that's happening so far, I've been really enjoying. So that is definitely sparking joy for me. And obviously Worlds Beyond Number, but like we don't need to talk about Worlds Beyond Number every week, or maybe we do need to talk about Worlds Beyond Number every week. I haven't decided. But that's what's sparking joy for me, non-spinning related. And the thing that's sparking joy for me, spinning related, is the Spindlehood. I love that people tag me when they find spindles. I love that people say they've been spinfluenced by me, which you guys, the merch is coming. When my head works, the merch is coming. But I love people. I mean, I don't love competing with people for spindles, but I love when my friends get spindles and they're like, look at this thing I got. And I'm like, yay, let me hype you up. And I love when like I see things that I love go to homes that like are made for people. Like my friend Jess got a spindle and the design on the spindle matched her first tattoo. And like I literally had stars in my eyes. I was like, yep. Sometimes the universe works out just the way it's supposed to. So the thing that's bringing me joy, spinning related, is all the magic fidget sticks and seeing other people find the magic of the magic fidget sticks. I'm so glad that support spindles found their way into my life. Finally, it felt like it happened just when it was supposed to. I have zero regrets. Real quick, we're going to go right back to the things that are bringing me joy because Joshua just reminded me. I just discovered Hilda. I am late to the party. I know I'm late to the party. I know people have been talking about it for like ever, but one of the women in the Stash Down server was talking to us about how she's been enjoying Hilda and like the color scheme in Hilda. And I was like, I feel like I tried to watch the show once upon a time. I didn't get very far. Y'all, Hilda is delightful. Like, oh my God, delightful. I think I watched like the 2 seasons and like the movie in like a week. I was like devoted to Hilda. It gives me like Steven Universe and Adventure Time vibes, which are like my favorite shows on TV. Like I go back and I mean, I'm probably on my 5th rewatch of Steven Universe. There's no shame in my game. I love the Crystal Gems. A Single Pale Rose, season 5, episode 20. Gets me in the feels every single time. I'm probably on my 5th rewatch of Steven Universe, and Hilda gives me like, it gives me all the like the comfy cozy vibes of Steven Universe with like that rebel reckless adventure spirit of Adventure Time. If you have Netflix and you haven't watched Hilda, I highly recommend you check it out. It is delightful. It's literally one of the best things I've ever seen on TV. Hilda's like one of my favorite protagonists. I cannot say enough positive things about that show. If you want good knitting company, if you want good spinning company, if you just want to like hang out and like, you know, feel good, watch Hilda. I highly recommend it. Okay, back to whatever else I was saying. So you guys, I think that's it. If you've listened to me gasp and whoa, I'm like really out of breath right now. If you've been listening to me gasp for the last hour, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this catch-up episode. I'm just sorry for my voice, but it is what it is, and I felt the best that I felt in over a week. So I was like, we're finally doing this today. The super secret project, which I feel like I've been teasing you guys about forever. The super secret project is coming really soon, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it. I think it's going to be delightful. I think you guys are going to be really jazzed about it when it's like a thing. So keep your eyes peeled for the super secret project. Again, you have a week to finish your colliery situation, your collar, cowl, shawl, anything for the Collar Me Happy Cow. You have another week, and the prizes are delightful. I've been talking to Sam about prizes. The prizes are going to be really good. So you have a week to enter your stuff. Don't forget to use the Instagram hashtag or the Ravelry page if Instagram is not your jam. And I will see you guys in, I was going to say I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. I don't know if that's true. I'll see you when I see you. Yeah, I love you. Go make something fun today.